Hey guys, Superhorrorbro Mike here, and in today's video, we're going to take a closer look at each and every monstrous mascot featured throughout the story of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. This video, however, won't touch too much on the story itself, as I've already made a detailed video explaining the events of Chapter 4 for anyone interested. You'll find a link to that video at the end of this one. With that said, sit back, relax, and let's explore the monsters of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. At the centre of all the terrifying madness that occurred within Playtime Co. is an ominous scientist by the name of Harley Sawyer, aka the Doctor. Harley Sawyer was originally hired by Elliot Ludwig after being accepted as part of the Young Genius program. A program that gave those with brilliant minds the opportunity to flex their creative energy, creating groundbreaking toys within Playtime Co. However, after Elliot's passing, and with a focus shift towards human experimentation that would bring toys to life, Harley swiftly rose through the ranks to become head of special projects, where he created the Bigger Bodies Initiative. Within this initiative, deep below the factory and in complete secrecy, staff members and orphan children were operated on and infused with toys to create living creatures, like Huggy, Kissy, and Catnap. However, while Harley's associates were initially very impressed with his work, it quickly became apparent that the Doctor was a bit of a wild card, acting recklessly in his pursuit to control these bigger bodies and weaponize them, turning them into killing machines with a taste for human flesh. This led to several incidents where experiments both escaped the facility and also attacked employees and visitors, incidents which had to be covered up to avoid scandal.
Sawyer can't keep leading this project.
I'm not disagreeing. Huggy loose in the woods, that business with Catnap, the whole stole thing,
and half a dozen other incidents.
Right, and all of that pales in comparison to the theater incident.
So, we can't kill the son of a bitch, but we need to knock him out of the equation. What do we do?
There is one thing I can think of.
And so, Leif Pierre and the other higher-ups at the company came up with a solution to take Harley Sawyer out of the picture while still having access to his brilliant mind. They hired another doctor called Bruno White to transform Harley into an experiment of his own. Harley Sawyer became trapped as a ghost in the machine, able to communicate and aid in furthering Playtime's research, but without a physical body and any free will of his own to cause further catastrophe. His vital organs were split up through various life support systems, all wired into a giant computer system, keeping him alive but complacent, much to the Doctor's frustration.
Oh no, they didn't. Those backstabbing traitors.
From now on, you're here to give the lab boys answers when they need them, and carry out procedures when and how we tell you to. That's it.
You'll die for this, Leaf. When I get my hands on you, you're a dead man!
However, a few years later, the Doctor began secretly collaborating with one of his own experiments, the hyper-intelligent prototype, and together the two managed to trick the prison warden into giving up his security access tool, the Omni-Hand. Once in possession of the security override, the Doctor freed the bigger body experiments from containment, and under the influence of a prototype, these mascots went on a kill-crazy rampage, taking down everyone aside from the orphan children in a massacre known as the Hour of Joy. During the story of Poppy Chapter 4, we first meet the Doctor after boarding the train into the heart of a Playtime prison, where he decides to put our protagonist through a series of sadistic trials.
Now what's this? Do I feel something squirming its way beneath my skin? An invasive foreign little germ. Well, little germ, let's make a game of you.
In order to defeat the Doctor, we must take down each of his life support systems located within the depths of Harley's laboratory. all while avoiding a slew of death traps and completing a series of life or death trials. This eventually leads to a showdown, where the Doctor takes control of an army of robotic endoskeletons to try and take out our hapless hero. Eventually we manage to shut down Harley's final life support system, and vanquish the mad scientist once and for all.
You saved no one.
Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 introduced us to the Smiling Critters, a merry band of happy-go-lucky friends who doubled as scented plushies for kids. Although they weren't quite so friendly when our protagonist ran afoul of them in the depths of a playcare. In Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, we meet the edgier versions of these furry friends, now dubbed the Nightmare Critters. They feature different designs, personality traits, and scents, and seem to be geared towards a more mature audience than their smiling counterparts. There are 8 Nightmare Critters in total: a black sheep named Baba Chops, a poison dart frog named Icky Licky, a vampire bat called Raby Baby, an alligator by the name of Alistair Gator, a shark named Maggie Marco, a raven named Poe, a dragon called Simon Smoke, and last but not least, a rat called Tui. Most of the Nightmare Critters show up in 2 distinct segments of the chapter. We first stumble across them on our journey through the haunting halls of a prison complex, where the ominous Doctor tests our resolve by unleashing wave upon wave of hungry Nightmare Critters upon us. They must be repelled with flares from our flare gun attachment. The second area where these little critters appear is within the mines towards the chapter's finale. Here they hunt our hero through the maze-like mines while they search for sticks of dynamite. Eventually we narrowly escape the critters by fleeing up the elevator shaft. However, a much larger version of Baba Chops also appears to challenge us during this chapter. Within the Doctor's laboratory, we find ourselves imprisoned within a holding cell room, while the black sheep stalks us mercilessly through the tunnels as we desperately try to figure out an escape route. Yarnaby was another bigger body experiment born from the mind of a diabolical Doctor. Originally labelled Experiment 1166 and inhabited by orphan Quinn Navidson, who was prone to violence as a child due to his tendency to rip the heads off toys, Yarnaby became a pet project of the Doctor, aka Harley Sawyer. Before we get too far into the lore of this creature, let's check out some audio logs from Yarnaby as heard from interacting with his cutout.
The name's Yarnaby. Would you wanna be my friend? Press the button to brush my mane. Brushy, 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 brushy. Wow, aren't I glad to have a friend like you? Get it? Without someone like you to love, why, I think I'd just come apart at the seams.
Yarnaby's design is based on that of a lion and is derived from the Playtime Co. toy of the same name, first released in the 1970s. Originally, Yarnaby was both docile and playful, as well as growing incredibly loyal towards certain members of the Playtime staff that he favoured. Seeing this loyalty, Harley Sawyer isolated Yarnaby and began building a bond with him, training the experiment up as his personal bodyguard and moulding him into a more hostile and dangerous creation. Now Yarnaby follows the Doctor's every command and fiercely protects his master when threatened. We can see just how ferocious Yarnaby grew under Harley's oversight from our very first encounter with this feral beast.
Oh, Yarnaby. Please, do keep making this enjoyable for me. I'll be taking notes.
Throughout Chapter 4, the protagonist is hunted by Yarnaby, and must use stealth and cunning to evade this terrifying looking feline. We can crawl into hide spaces and walls and stay crouched to avoid detection. However, if we are seen by Yarnaby, he closes ground fast, pinning us down with his razor-sharp claws, at which point his head splits open to reveal a vertical mouth full of bloody teeth. And just like Quinn Navidson used to do to his toys, Yarnaby will then tear our head clean from our body. Eventually, Yarnaby is defeated during a hair-raising chase sequence. While leaping across a fiery pit, the creature becomes ensnared on a chain hook, its flammable fur setting alight from the heat of the flames below. Pianosaurus is a very peculiar looking living toy. Part dinosaur, part piano, this musical toy hybrid doesn't get much time to shine during the events of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. We discover Pianosaurus after falling into this observation room within the Playtime prison, at which point the dino turns and charges towards the player ferociously. But, as it does, stretchy hands emerge from the darkness and snatch the reptilian foe away, dragging it into the shadows. More on who this mysterious saviour is very soon, but first let's take a look at the additional information we have on Pianosaurus, gathered from a note found earlier in the chapter. Pianosaurus was created from an orphan child at Playcare, who was bright, joyful, and a bundle of laughter. However, little of this child's persona remained in the creation of this bigger body experiment. Instead, Pianosaurus was referred to as an invalid experiment that lacked both size and power, and therefore was regarded as a failure and abandoned by Harley Sawyer and the other scientists who created it. However, despite all odds, this pint-sized dino managed to survive for 15 years since the Hour of Joy occurred. Well, until now that is. We also come across this cutout of Pianosaurus, which reveals the following lines and song. Take a listen.
Hello, I'm Pianosaurus. I used to be in a band, then the asteroid hit. Wanna hear a little song that I've made just for you?
Doey the Doughman was originally a putty-like substance sold by Playtime Co. that proved so popular he even received his own toy line, including an action figure. A young boy named Jackie Ayers received a tour of the Playtime factory as a Christmas gift from his parents, but while on this factory tour fell into the Doey mixing tanks and met an unfortunate end. Jackie was then resurrected as one of 3 different orphan children that make up the bigger body version of Doey, who now accompanies us through the story of Chapter 4. Jackie's parents received a secret invitation back to the factory by a Playtime scientist who instructs them to speak with a resurrected version of their child in the containment room. However, this exchange ended in tragedy, as Doey, now in an unstable state, ended up killing both of Jackie's parents.
Hey, you'll be okay, I promise. Mommy's only here to talk.
No, I don't want to talk. Get out!
Susan, I think we should leave.
Jackie, I'm staying right here.
The gentle voices lie. I know what they do. They lie, and they poke, and they hurt. Susan, get away from me!
Jack?
Hey, open this door! Oh, God. Susan! Please, open the door! Please!
This unexpected anger came from the aforementioned fact that Doey contains not 1, but 3 separate children inside him, each one fighting for control of his emotions. The first of these 2 children was a boy named Matthew Hallard, who was both charming and charismatic. At 15 years, he was older than most of the other orphans, and so took it upon himself to look after them. However, he felt great remorse for the loss of his parents, who he lost in an accident he was unable to prevent. The second boy of the trio was a problem child called Kevin Barnes.
The neural abnormalities noted in Dr. Newman's report are detailed in connection to behavioral issues demonstrated within play care. Trouble getting along with others, aggressive and often confrontational social tendencies, and an otherwise combative nature clearly relay that Kevin is, put simply, a problem child. What friends he does have, he's reported to have attacked in moments of intense play.
Kevin's persona was the reason why Doey attacked Jackie's parents. Doey therefore inherited the compassionate nature of Matthew, the excitable nature of Jackie, but also the violent and unpredictable nature of Kevin. And all three of these personas now fight for control within Doey's mind. This makes him friendly yet unpredictable, and confused about how to handle his emotions at any given time. We can find a cutout of Doey while exploring the depths of a prison, and this cutout comes with the following audio. Check it out.
Hiya there! I'm Doey. I can be anything you need. Good thing I have your imagination to give me shape. I can never make up my mind. When you want a little fun, stretch around, play around, fun. There's only one thing you need.
In the story of Poppy Chapter 4, Doey first shows up to save our protagonist from Pianosaurus, and after doing so begins guiding us through the Playtime Co. prison, leading us to a place called the Safe Haven, which he built to protect the toys of the facility with Poppy and Ollie. We discover he is in fact working with Poppy and Ollie to try and take down the prototype and save the surviving toys of the facility. However, Doey and Poppy have very different ideas for how this plan should be executed. Poppy wishes to save the orphans but then destroy the facility and everyone inside, while Doey hopes for a more peaceful outcome.
I understand what Poppy wants, what she believes is right. Destroy the factory, destroy him. But I ask you to consider, if we throw everything away, everyone, just to kill the prototype, how much do we waste? I know the others might believe it's right, that we should bury everything, but let's just think about it.
Later in the chapter, the safe haven where Doey looks after many of the other toy experiments still left alive within Playtime comes under attack from a prototype, and in a fit of rage, Doey snaps and lashes out at the player, transforming into a monstrous version of his normal, lovable self.
It was you who ruined everything!
No, that's not true. They jump-started the generator. They
Destroyed everything! I'll kill you!
We must use nitroglycerin cylinders to freeze Doey, and then cut him down to size with saw blades within this construction site where his boss fight takes place. This eventually leads to a final confrontation where we manage to mulch Doey the Doughman underneath this grinder.
Can't trust anyone! The gentle voices lie! You lie! I tried to be better, to be who they needed. Smart enough, not good enough, not... I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Doey is therefore a tragic character who just wanted to do what was right for his toy friends. However, the conflicting personality of the 3 children trapped inside him makes him often act irrationally.
For the past few months, the fighting's been bad. Real bad. I've, seen a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't. It's been hard to keep my head straight. The others, they look to me to know what to do, to know where to go.
The prototype, also known as Experiment 1006, remains a mysterious entity to this day. However, we do learn a little bit more about the prototype during our time with Poppy Chapter 4. The prototype is briefly seen in more detail as we glimpse its silhouette charging through the halls of Doey's safe haven in pursuit of a terrified Poppy and Kissy. As you can see from this footage, the prototype seems to resemble some kind of mechanical spider. It has multiple legs with a body that stands upright fixed to the top. In previous chapters, we have seen the prototype's hand, which seems to be a blend of human bones and mechanical parts. So it seems likely when we get to finally take a proper look at this creepy specimen, it will be a human-robot hybrid, and may also contain elements of previously slain toys like Mommy Longlegs and Catnap. But who and what is the prototype? Well, we don't know for sure at this time, but from previous chapters we learnt that the prototype is highly intelligent and cunning.
The prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of intelligence, beyond that of all other test subjects, as well as an alarming willingness to commit violence. Further suppression treatments will need to be enacted to ensure that no other experiments develop these qualities.
The prototype is also very influential over other bigger body experiments, and seems to easily manage to coerce them into doing his bidding. In fact, it was the prototype, in collaboration with the Doctor, who were responsible for the terrible events that occurred during the Hour of Joy. Despite harbouring hatred towards the prototype for his murderous methods, it seems even Poppy recognises that he has the orphan children and mascot experiments they became best interests at heart.
Prototype says we can't leave. Not now, not ever. I hate him, and I hate this place, and I hate that he's right. He explained everything, and he's right. What they did to us, we can't ever let it happen to us or anyone ever again.
So from this we can surmise that the prototype wishes to protect the children of Playcare, and this was his motivation for punishing the adult employees who once subjected said kids to such torturous experimentation, as well as no doubt getting revenge on the scientists who put him through horrifying testing themselves.
You stick us.
Beat us. Tear at flesh.
Do you feel it?
There's a secret inside you, 1006, valuable beyond all measure. I cut and prod and burn at it, and I get closer with each session. So speak, or don't. Fight, or give in. Regardless, I learn something new about you every day. It excites me.
Thank you.
You thank me?
Absolutely.
I learn something new about you every day.
In the final moments of Chapter 4, we learn that Poppy and the prototype share a special connection, as the entity beckons Poppy to come home. Could this perhaps add credence to an older theory we had here on the channel, that Elliot Ludwig is in fact the prototype and Poppy his daughter? We'll have to wait for Chapter 5 to find out for sure. We also learn that Ollie, the child who was once a good friend to Poppy, is no longer around, and it was in fact the prototype mimicking his voice this entire time. In fact, the prototype seems to be able to mimic almost anyone it pleases, as we can hear during this cutscene.
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy? What? Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
You. What did you do with Ollie?
I'm
Right here, Poppy.
for you.
I'll always
Be here.
The doctor, Catnap, Mommy and Huggy, they're all dead. You have nothing now. No one. And soon, you'll have less than that.
Stop that.
You don't need to pretend anymore.
Poppy. You don't need to play at being stronger than you are. You can come home.
Huggy Wuggy is the most iconic of all characters to have graced Poppy Playtime thus far. Originally created in 1984 by Elliot Ludwig, Huggy became the mascot poster child for Playtime Co. Later, in the year 1990, he was used as one of the first mascots as part of Harley Sawyer's Bigger Body initiative. This living version of Huggy was initially docile, but became hostile once under the influence of the prototype. He can be seen escaping the facility in June of 1992, where he went on a killing spree, taking out several Playtime employees on his rampage before being retrieved and recontained. Later, during the Hour of Joy, which occurred at the Playtime on August 8, 1995, Huggy led the charge with many other mascots and went on a kill-crazed rampage, taking out most of the employees at the facility. Also known as Experiment 1170, Huggy originally showed up in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 as the chapter's main antagonist, stalking players through the toy factory before finally emerging to give chase through a vent system during the final moments. We were able to defeat Huggy by using the grab pack to drop a cargo container onto a walkway, plunging the Blue Menace into the depths of the factory, where it seemed he had met his demise. Until Chapter 4 we saw no further signs of Huggy save for a suspicious blood trail in Chapter 2, which contained that all too familiar blue fur. We did however encounter mini Huggies, and these return once more, albeit briefly, in Chapter 4's opening moments, as we attempt to enter the Playtime prison. At the very end of Chapter 4 we witness a shocking revelation. Huggy Wuggy survived the fall. He now exists in a horrifying mangled state, and as you can see from this footage, his face is split open, legions running down his body, and his arm hanging by a thread. Huggy bangs furiously on the door to the room we find ourselves trapped inside, desperate for revenge and thirsting for blood. But we'll have to wait until Poppy Chapter 5 to see how Huggy will be incorporated into the final leg of our adventure through this nightmarish toy factory. And with that, we come to the end of this video and a look at the monsters of Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 explained. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it both entertaining and informative. If you did, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.